You've probably wondered why your relationships keep following the same painful patterns, why you are drawn to people who seem emotionally unavailable, why love feels like a constant battle to prove your worth. What if I told you that the answer lies buried in your earliest memories, in a wound so deep that most people don't even realize they carry it? Today, you are going to discover the mother wound Thes, the invisible force that has been shaping every romantic decision you've made since childhood. And more importantly, you are going to learn how to finally break free from its grip using a powerful healing process that thousands have used to transform their relationships forever. Picture this scenario for a moment. There is a man named David who, from the outside, seemed to have everything together: successful career, good looks, confident demeanor. But inside his romantic relationships, he was trapped in a cycle he couldn't understand. He'd meet someone amazing, feel that initial spark, and then watch helplessly as he transformed into someone he didn't recognize, and constantly seeking approval, walking on eggshells, desperately trying to prove he was worthy of love. Sound familiar? David's story isn't unique. It is the story of millions of people who carry what psychologists call the mother wound 50, an invisible scar left by early experiences with the first woman in their life. This wound doesn't just affect your relationship with your mother. It becomes the template for how you experience love, trust, and connection with every person who enters your life. Here is what most people don't understand about the mother wound. It is not necessarily about having a bad mother. Some of the deepest wounds come from mothers who appeared loving on the surface, but were emotionally unavailable when it mattered most. Maybe your mother was physically present, but emotionally absent. Maybe she was dealing with her own unhealed trauma and unconsciously passed that pain on to you. Maybe she loved you, but couldn't see you for who you really were. David's mother wasn't cruel or abusive. She was just distant. When he scraped his knee and ran to her crying, she'd say, "Big boys don't cry." When he excitedly showed her his artwork from school, she'd barely glance up from her phone. When he needed comfort during his parents' divorce, she was too wrapped up in her own pain to notice his. These might seem like small moments, but to a child's developing psyche, they carried a massive message. Your emotions don't matter. Your needs are inconvenient. You must earn love through performance. That little boy learned to suppress his authentic self and become who he thought others wanted him to be. And that pattern followed him into every relationship he ever had. He'd meet someone wonderful, but instead of showing up authentically, he'd immediately start performing subtly, anticipating their needs, avoiding conflict, sacrificing his own boundaries to keep them happy. The very behavior he thought would secure love was actually pushing people away. This is the cruel irony of the mother wound. It creates exactly the opposite of what we desperately want. We want unconditional love, but we've learned that love must be earned. We want to be seen for who we are, but we've learned to hide our true selves. We want security in relationships, but we approach them from a place of deep insecurity. The mother wound shows up differently for different people. Some become people pleasers who can't set boundaries. Others become emotionally unavailable themselves, protecting their hearts by never fully letting anyone in. Some chase partners who are similar to their mothers, find emotionally distant, or inconsistent, find unconsciously, trying to win the love they never received. Others swing to the opposite extreme, choosing partners who are so different from their mothers that they lack any real emotional depth or challenge. But here is what you need to understand. None of this is your fault. That child who learned these patterns was doing the best they could with the tools they had. They were trying to survive in an environment where love felt conditional and approval seemed constantly out of reach. Those coping mechanisms served a purpose then, but they're not serving you now. The first step in healing the mother wound is recognizing it exists. Most people go their entire lives never connecting their relationship patterns to their earliest experiences. They blame themselves for choosing the wrong people, or convince themselves they're just not good at relationships. But once you see the pattern, you can begin to change it. Let me share something powerful with you. The wound that was created in relationship can only be healed in relationship, but the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. More specifically, it is the relationship between your adult self and your inner child self, that part of you that still carries those early hurts and unmet needs. Your inner child is not just a metaphor, it is a living breathing part of your psyche that holds your capacity for joy, creativity, wonder, and authentic connection. But if that inner child was wounded, they're still living inside you, unconsciously driving your adult behaviors from a place of fear and unhealed pain. Think about it this way. Imagine you have a scared, hurt child living in your house. This child makes all your important decisions about love and relationships based on their fear of being hurt again. They choose partners who feel familiar, even if that familiarity is unhealthy. They sabotage good relationships because vulnerability feels dangerous. They constantly scan for signs of rejection or abandonment, because that is what they learned to expect. Now imagine what would happen if you could heal that child's pain, if you could give them the love, validation, and security they never received, if you could help them understand that they are worthy of love exactly as they are, without having to perform or prove anything. How different would your relationships be if they were guided by healing instead of wounding? This is where the real work begins. Healing the mother wound isn't about blaming your mother or dwelling in victimhood. It is about taking responsibility for your own healing and giving yourself what you needed but didn't receive. This process requires courage because it means feeling emotions you may have spent decades avoiding. It means grieving the childhood you wish you'd had and the mother you wish you'd received. But here is the beautiful truth. Every time you choose to feel these emotions instead of running from them, you are breaking the cycle. Every time you offer compassion to your inner child instead of criticism, you are rewiring decades of conditioning. Every time you choose to show up authentically in a relationship instead of performing, you are proving to yourself that you are worthy of love exactly as you are. The healing process I am about to guide you through is designed to help you connect with that wounded inner child and begin giving them what they've always needed. This isn't just visualization or positive thinking. It is a deep somatic experience that can create real, lasting change in your nervous system and your relationship patterns. Before we begin, I want you to understand something crucial. This work can bring up intense emotions, sadness, anger, grief, fear. All of these are normal and healthy parts of the healing process. Your emotions are not your enemy. They are messengers, carrying important information about what needs to be healed. Don't try to push them away or judge them as too much. They've been waiting patiently for years to be felt and released. You might find yourself crying during this process. That is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. Those tears carry decades of pain that your body has been holding onto. Letting them flow is how you begin to release that pain and make space for something new. You might feel anger steady at your mother, at yourself, at the unfairness of it all. That anger is valid too. It has been protecting you all these years. And now it is ready to transform into something more healing. Some people worry that feeling these emotions will make them worse, or that they'll get stuck in the pain. But the opposite is true. Emotions are like water. They need to flow to stay healthy. When we dam them up, they become stagnant and toxic. When we let them flow, they naturally move through us and transform. The only way out of the pain is through it. As we move into the healing experience, remember that this is a safe space. You are in control. You can pause at any time, take breaks when you need them, and return to this process whenever you are ready. There is no right or wrong way to experience this. Whatever comes up for you is exactly what needs to come up. I also want you to know that this is not a one-time fix. Healing happens in layers like peeling an onion. Each time you do this work, you'll go a little deeper, release a little more, and integrate a little more healing. Be patient with yourself and trust the process. Now, let's begin this journey together. Find a comfortable position where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, allowing your body to relax with each exhale. Feel your feet on the ground, your body supported by the chair or surface beneath you. You are safe in this moment. You are held. Begin to imagine yourself in a place that feels significant to your childhood. This might be your family home, a school playground, a park where you used to play, or any location that holds memories of your younger self. Don't overthink this bind. Trust your intuition and let the first place that comes to mind emerge in your imagination. See this place clearly in your mind's eye. Notice the colors, the textures, the way the light falls. Hear the sounds that belong to this place. Findy, baby children playing, cars passing by, or the quiet hum of daily life. Smell the familiar scents that transport you back to that time in your life. Let yourself feel fully present in this childhood landscape. Now, you are going to encounter two distinct groups of people in this space. Don't worry about how they got there or why they're present. Simply allow this scene to unfold naturally in your imagination. On one side, you see yourself as you are now 50. Your adult self Tiffin standing protectively next to your child self. Take a moment to really see that little one. How old are they? What are they wearing? What expression do they have on their face? This child represents all the innocence, hope, and authentic love that you came into this world with. They are perfect exactly as they are, deserving of unconditional love and acceptance simply because they exist. Hold their hand gently. Feel the trust they place in you. They've been waiting so long for someone to truly see them, to understand their pain, to validate their experience. That someone is you, so the adult, who has survived everything they went through and emerged with the wisdom and strength to offer them what they've always needed. Now, turn your attention to the other side of this space. Here you see a group of women who have made you feel less than not good enough, or somehow flawed throughout your life. These might include female teachers who dismissed you, classmates who rejected you, colleagues who undermined you, friends who betrayed your trust, or romantic partners who made you feel inadequate. See them clearly, faces, their expressions, the energy they carry. Notice how your body responds to seeing them. Do you feel small? Do you want to hide? Do you feel angry or hurt? Whatever comes up is valid and important information about how these experiences affected you. Standing among this group, prominently positioned, is your mother. See her as she was during your childhood. Not as she might be now, but as she existed in your young mind during those formative years. Notice her expression, her posture, the energy she radiates. Is she looking at you with love and pride, or with disappointment and distance? Is she defending you to the other women, or is she joining in their silent judgment? In this visualization, she doesn't stand up for you. She doesn't see your inherent worth or defend your innocence to the others. Instead, she looks at you with that familiar expression of disappointment or misunderstanding that you remember so well from childhood. When the other women silently question your worth with their eyes, she doesn't protect you. She simply shrugs and says, "I don't know. He has always been this way." Feel this moment. Feel the betrayal, the abandonment, the crushing realization that even your own mother couldn't see your true worth. This is not about making her wrong or bad, Thuvand. She was carrying her own wounds and limitations. But in this moment, you are allowing yourself to feel the full impact of what her inability to truly see and validate you did to your developing sense of self. Your inner child knows the truth that your adult mind has tried to rationalize away. They know they weren't born flawed or wrong. They know they deserve to be cherished, celebrated, and supported unconditionally. They know that the problem was never with them, Heidi. It was with the adults who couldn't provide what every child needs and deserves. Let your inner child speak now. Hear their voice, young and clear and heartbreakingly honest. I watched other kids whose mothers made them feel like they were the most amazing people in the world. But I always had to be perfect, always had to earn love through good behavior. I was never loved just for being me. I never felt like I was enough, like I was truly seen as valuable and worthy. How can a child be flawed? Children are born pure, innocent, full of life and joy. How can someone created by love itself be inherently wrong or not enough? But that is the message I received. Day after day, year after year. And I believed it because children believe what the adults in their lives tell them about their worth. Feel the profound injustice of this. Feel the sadness of a child who learned to doubt their own lovability before they even understood what love truly meant. Feel the anger at a system that failed to protect this innocent being from such damaging messages. Let these emotions rise without trying to control or fix them. Now, turn to the group of women who have continued this pattern throughout your life. Look directly at them and ask the question your heart has been carrying. Why did you see me this way? Why was I never enough for you? Why did you reject the real me? And one by one, they respond with painful honesty. Because your mother never saw you as enough. She never believed in your worth, your competence, your inherent goodness. We saw you through her eyes. We treated you the way she taught you to expect to be treated, If your own mother couldn't see your value, how could we? It doesn't just affect your relationship with your mother. It becomes the lens through which you view yourself and through which others learn to view you. When you don't believe in your own worth, you unconsciously teach others to treat you as less than worthy. When you approach relationships from a place of neediness and insecurity, you attract people who will confirm those beliefs about yourself. But here is what is different now. You have the power to change this pattern. You have the wisdom, strength, and love that your inner child has been waiting for. You can give them what your mother couldn't or wouldn't give. You can see them clearly, love them unconditionally, and validate their inherent worth. Take your inner child into your arms now. Hold them close against your chest. Feel their small body, their trembling heart, their desperate need for comfort and reassurance. Whisper to them the words they've been waiting their whole life to hear. You are perfect exactly as you are. You were never the problem. You deserved so much better. I see you, I love you, and I will never abandon you again. Feel their relief as they melt into your embrace. Feel their tears of gratitude mixing with your own tears of recognition and regret. This is the moment when healing truly begins. By deep. When you stop looking outside yourself for the love you never received and start providing it from within. Let yourself feel everything that comes up. If anger rises, let it flow through you without judgment. If grief overwhelms you, let it wash over you like a cleansing wave. If fear surfaces about being vulnerable or trusting again, acknowledge it with compassion. All of these emotions are sacred messengers, carrying information about what needs to be healed and released. Now, imagine your future self, the wise, healed version of who you are becoming, joining you and your inner child in this embrace. This is the you who has done the work, who has learned to love themselves unconditionally, who approaches relationships from wholeness instead of wounding. Feel their presence, their strength, their deep peace. Together, the three of you, your present self, your inner child, and your future self, form a circle of healing love. You are no longer fragmented by unmet needs and unhealed wounds. You are integrated, whole, complete unto yourself. From this place of wholeness, you can enter relationships as a gift rather than a need, as an offering rather than a demand. Take as long as you need in this space. Let the emotions flow until they naturally subside. Breathe deeply and feel the shift that is occurring in your nervous system, in your heart, in your very sense of self. You are reclaiming parts of yourself that have been lost or hidden for decades. When you are ready, slowly open your eyes and return to the present moment, but carry with you the healing that just occurred. Carry with you the love you just gave and received. Carry with you the truth that you discovered. You are worthy of love simply because you exist. This healing work is not a one-time event. The mother wound has been with you for years or decades, and it will take time to fully transform. But every time you return to this process, every time you choose to feel your emotions instead of avoiding them, every time you offer compassion to your inner child instead of criticism, you are rewiring the neural pathways that have been keeping you stuck in old patterns. You might notice that certain situations still trigger the old wound. When you feel rejected, criticized, or misunderstood, especially by women, you might feel that familiar contraction in your chest, that voice that whispers, "See, you are not enough." This is normal and expected. The difference now is that you have tools to respond differently. When these triggers arise, instead of spiraling into self-doubt or reactive behavior, you can pause and connect with your inner child. You can ask them what they need in that moment. You can offer them the comfort and reassurance that no one gave you when these wounds were first created. These triggered moments become opportunities for deeper healing, rather than evidence of your inadequacy. As you continue this healing journey, you'll notice subtle but profound changes in your relationships. You'll find yourself less reactive to criticism or rejection. You'll be able to set boundaries without guilt or fear. You'll attract partners who are capable of seeing and appreciating your authentic self, rather than those who confirm your old beliefs about your unworthiness. Most importantly, you will develop a relationship with yourself that is loving, supportive, and unshakable. You'll no longer need external validation to feel worthy, because you'll have learned to provide that validation from within. You'll no longer chase love from people who can't give it, because you'll have learned to give it to yourself first. This is the gift of healing the mother wound. It is not about erasing your past or pretending the pain never happened. It is about transforming that pain into wisdom, that wound into a source of strength, that unmet need into an opportunity for self-love. You become the parent to yourself that you wish you'd had, and from that foundation of self-compassion, you can build relationships that are healthy, authentic, and deeply fulfilling. Remember, healing happens in layers and waves. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories. Trust the process even when it feels difficult or unclear. You are doing sacred work, Thivi, not just for yourself, but for future generations who will benefit from the cycle of wounding that stops with you. Every person who heals their mother wound contributes to healing the collective wound that has been passed down through families for generations. You are not just changing your own life, Vithif, you are changing the trajectory of love itself in your lineage. This is work worth doing, and you have everything within you to do it successfully. Your healing journey has begun, and that beginning is everything.